Hi everyone, Anthea here, and I'm just going to run you through a really nice 45 minutes sort of flowing series to get you feeling really soft, comfortable, delicious in your body. The aim of this is to increase the dialogue between the different elements within your system: legs to pelvis, pelvis to ribs, ribs to shoulders, shoulders to the neck and the head. So we're going to just start in a comfortable seated position, wherever is good for you to be. For some people, sitting like this is going to be comfortable. For others, you're maybe just going to want to have a cushion underneath the sitting bones, maybe a cross-legged stance. Really, wherever you feel like you can start to relax into your body. Just close down your eyes for a moment, and as you sit here in whatever position you've adopted for yourself, just take a couple of moments to invite in some deep, slow breath. So in through the nose, out through the mouth, feeling the ribs expanding to the sides as you inhale, and drop back into the body as you exhale. And just begin to become aware in that position of how the rest of the body is doing today. What kind of information can you gather? It might be information about your alignment. It might be information about kind of left to right hand sides, areas of tenderness. Could even just be an awareness of living for a lot of your life in your head. So whatever you find is allowed, is viewed with compassion. But as you begin to deepen your breathing, see if you can start to let go of any distractions that might keep you from being really fully present in this next little period of time together. I want you to just let your head, with your eyes closed, slowly soften down towards the front of your chest, the back of the neck lengthening, spine staying tall on your sitting bones, but the back of your neck just really releasing down with the weight of the head. And as you exhale, draw the chin in and up, and let that head come back onto its perch. Rotate your head over to the right hand side. Take a little moment there to feel the top back part of your skull lengthening to the ceiling. Roll down through the chin as though you were trying to turn your gaze towards that right shoulder. Inhale, lengthen, lift the head. Rotate the head back into the center. Over to the other side. As you turn your head to the left, allow your right shoulder to just gently peel backwards so you feel a length in the collarbone space. Chin tucks in, eye gaze down towards your left arm bone head. Inhale. Exhale, lift all the way out, back through center, over to that right hand side again. Stay and begin to let your head roll down through the center. Go really slowly and gently so that you can make sure that the back of the neck is comfortable with this. As you take these little semicircles, dropping the chin down towards the chest, just be mindful of the feeling of the arms descending from the back in a comfortable way. Be mindful of the jaw not drawing too far forwards. It's more of a little tuck of the chin. Take yourself back round once more to each side. And then let your head come back into the center. Take your arms out to the side. Just begin to lift them up and over your head. Take a big breath in. Feel the ribs lifting up and away from the pelvis. Arms come back down by the side. Fingertips touch. Inhale, we reach. Exhale, we sweep back down. One more. Exhale down. Lovely. Rotate over to bring your feet to the bottom ends of your mat. And just slowly take yourself down onto your back, coming into what we call a kind of semi-supine position. Feet are going to land at hip distance, just around the position of your kneecaps, if not a little bit further away. And just bring your arms down onto the floor so the palms are starting resting on your pelvis with the elbows down on the floor. We're going to take a moment here to breathe again and feel the weight of the body dropping into the floor underneath you. The inhale is going to again send those ribs out to the side. So rather than allowing your belly fully to lift and expand up to the ceiling, I want you to feel like these ribs are spreading widthways and maybe a little bit back into the mat underneath you. We're going to invite in those inhales a couple more times. Breathing in. Feeling the expansion, and as you exhale, feeling those ribs and the breastbone just sinking down into the back of your body. Nothing changing in your pelvis. Inhaling. And exhaling. And with every breath, you have an opportunity to sink a little deeper. To allow the body to ease. To feel the weight of your skull. The weight of the jaw, the weight of the tongue descending into the floor. And what you might begin to notice is that as you inhale, the pelvis wants to find a little gentle movement forwards, as though you're trying to tip your pubic bone away from your belly towards the mat behind you. And then as you exhale, the pubic bone is going to roll back in and the low back is going to flatten on the floor. So start to take a few of those movements. If you don't feel it happening instinctively, then what you could do is on your exhale, push gently down into the pads of your feet and roll the pubic bone in. And that will give you that sense of lift. And as you inhale, you allow the feet to relax on the floor. This is known as your pelvic clock, your 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And what we're thinking about is this image of a clock face on the front of the belly, 12 at your sort of diaphragm area, 6 o'clock at your pubic bone, 3 o'clock on one hip, 9 o'clock on the other. And it's as though we were rolling a marble from the 12 around the belly button and diaphragm area down towards the 6 o'clock at the pubic bone. What you'll notice is as you move, your body may start to shimmy up the mat or down the mat. So don't worry about that. Feel free to take any adjustments that you want to as you continue to just roll over the back of your sacrum in this rhythmic lull, forward and backward. Once you feel as though you've explored that to an equal degree, you're able to find as much range forwards as backwards, pause somewhere in the middle. And now we're going to go from side to side, and for this it's useful to find your feet. So press down into the sole of your right foot, and as you do, feel a little lightness through the right hip, as though you were trying to tip yourself over to the left. And then drop that down again and take the same thing on the other side. So left foot presses down, and you'll see there's a sort of flicker of space created between my hip and the floor, while the right hip now is sinking nice and firmly on the floor. As you keep this side-to-side movement going, like an old-fashioned set of scales, tune into your legs and notice whether the legs are moving into the middle of you as you go. And if that's happening, I'd like you to think more that the foot that you're pressing down into, that leg is going to lengthen forwards. So it's like it's growing out of the hip. And then you're going to let the fold of the hip come back down to the floor, and then you're going to take that on the other side. So can you see I'm getting this almost more forward-backward movement of my leg bones in relation to my hip. One side lengthens, the other side drops in. One side lengthens, the other side drops in. And this whole time, the head and the neck and the shoulders and the ribs are just sinking easy down into the floor. So this is all soft. A space where you can let go as opposed to any holding that might be going on. Come back into the middle, take any readjustments with your head and your neck, shimmy yourself down the mat if like me you've crept up a bit. We're going to go for a full clock circle. So we're going to roll over to the left hand side. We've dropped into our 3 o'clock, this hip, and we're going to come round the bottom of the corner as if we were trying to roll the marble now from the belly all the way down and round towards the pubic bone, all the way up along the right-hand side of you and back into the middle. And so at the moment, we're taking that marble clockwise. Have a look at your knees. Have a peek at mine. And notice whether they are, again, shifting significantly as you move from side to side. And instead of that, see if you could try to keep the legs relatively quiet. What's really interesting to notice on everyone's individual body on any given day is which number you're skipping. So for me, I know that my 5, 6, and 7, as it were, bottom left-hand corner, is harder to circle. I can sort of right angle my way into and out of it, but my body resists the circle. So try to notice when that happens within your own body. And your invitation is to sink very heavy into the back of yourself as you circle, and to slow the movement down there to see if you can invite the muscles and the bones to really descend. Let's change around to the other side. So we're circling around the right-hand side of you, going anti-clockwise here. Noticing if those ribs are lifting away from the floor and just seeing if they could be gently encouraged back down to earth. You don't need to force them too much, but just be conscious of them. Come back into the center, around to the side again. We're going to take another 4 of these. Just moving in your own time, allowing the head and the neck to also be wheeling if that's happening. It's slightly happening in my body today. And then come back into the center. Okay, so from here, bring your feet so that they're right underneath your kneecaps. Hands are going to come down to the floor, ideally palms facing up to the ceiling, but if you'd much rather have palms down, then feel free if that's more comfortable for you. What we're trying to achieve with the palm up is that the shoulders soften down to the floor. That's kind of the aim. If the palms are down, this has a tendency of lifting and it's just not quite as surrendered as we'd like. We're going to take an inhale, and as you exhale, press the soles of the feet down and find that flicker of a lift in your tailbone. Keep from there pushing down into the feet and slowly picking your spine up from the floor, centimeter at a time, until you come to a place where you feel that the pelvis is hovering away from the floor in a comfortable way, but that the weight is still dropping through your shoulders, through your head, neck, and chest. I gaze up to the ceiling, so don't copy me in looking at you guys. As you exhale, then let the descent start at the throat. So you're softening the back of the neck down, then the collarbones down, then the breastbone down, then upper ribs, middle ribs, lower ribs, and sacrum. Inhale when you get right down to the bottom and the tailbone has descended. Exhale, rolling all the way up your body again. If you notice as you keep this rhythm up and down going, that your head is wanting to push upward towards the top end of your mat, then at the top, pause and find a little pull inwards of your heels as though you were trying to draw them towards your sitting bones. That's going to immediately send your knees further forwards, and it's going to give you a feeling that the legs are supporting you while the chest can stay dropped. I want you to be very conscious as you move of any vertebra that you're skipping, and I know within my body that happens quite easily, and of any desire to push the ribs up to the ceiling, or indeed to leave the bottom dropping down to the floor. So this is what that looks like with the tailbone heavy, and instead I want to lengthen my tailbone along the underside of my legs to give me this long line through the back of my spine. We're going to take one more. We're going to stay at the top. And if staying at the top feels achievable, I want you guys to float your arms up to the ceiling and reach the shoulder blades away from the floor so that you feel that there's this long line between fingertips and ceiling. As you exhale, bring yourself down slowly, but keep stretching your arms upwards and feel the weight descending into the ribs and coming down through the middle of the back and dropping down into the base of your spine. Inhale, keep the arms reaching up. Exhale, roll up. Breathing in, breathing out. Take 2 more. Up we come. Find the softening and the weight in the back of your head, the back of the shoulders as you move. Last time, coming up, standing into your feet nice and firmly and coming down. We're going to add in a little bit of a weight stabilizing piece when we get to the top. So use the arms, palms now pressing down into the floor. As you stand into the feet, let your pelvis lift. And I want you to see if you can just gently press a little bit more through the left leg so that the right hip descends a little touch. And then press more through the left leg so that the right hip descends. If I bring my hands onto my hips so that you can see in my ninja black clothing what my hips are doing. In my bridge, they're taking a little side to side. Really easy and gentle, but finding a solid sense of pressure down through the sole of the foot. Ribs are just rotating, revolving nice and comfortably. You can feel the pads of your toes along with the heels, and you can feel this bit of work coming into the back of one leg and then the other. Pause in the center, and if you need to come down to the mat and take a break, then absolutely do. Otherwise, I want you to send the sole of your right foot down into the floor. See if you could just pick up the heel of the left foot. That's all we're doing to begin with. And then we're going to lower that heel down. We're going to stand firmly into the left side and pick up the heel on the right. Ball of the foot still connected to the floor. As you move from side to side, keep an awareness of the hip bones and try to keep them nicely level so that they're staying in a place that's even. If you feel the weight has come up toward the head again, soften shoulders. Work into the feet more. Allow the ribs to feel a little bit more floppy. Take another 2. And 1. Slowly bring your spine all the way back down. Take your right leg, cross it over the left so that we're in a right angle cross. Shin bone over the front of your left thigh. And if you've got the range, just take your hands behind the back of that leg. What you're going to do is gently draw the left thigh in towards you. And with your right elbow, just push the right thigh out to the side so that we're getting a little bit of space in the hip. You want to notice the position of your tailbone, and if it's lifted significantly off the floor, see if you can just drop down a bit heavier into that structure so that you find what's a true bit of opening for the back of your leg. Anyone that's having trouble with this in terms of the knees, do feel free not to take the knee close to your body and just keep the foot, the left foot on the floor, and use your hand to just push that right thigh outward a little bit to find some space. Switch over to the other side. So left leg comes to cross over the right. Breathing in for me. As you exhale, if it's available to you, just take a little stretch in with that leg. Nothing needs to be forced here. We're just seeing what the body wants to do, where it wants to move. And again, lower the sole of that right foot. Bring your left foot to join it and lengthen out your 2 legs. Take a little bit of a side-to-side flutter with your thighs so that you loosen off the thighs, loosen off the pelvis, and see what it's like to be here in this supine position. And tune into the arms. So we're going to reach those arms up towards the ceiling, shoulders drawing away from the floor. As you exhale, take your arms just to float backwards, somewhere where you can keep the rib cage dropping down into the surface of your mat. So if you take the arms too far, the ribs will lift. Instead of that, we're going to keep the ribs heavy and the arms just come back to the point that they're able to maintain. From there, we're going to slowly take those arms out to the sides and back up towards the ceiling. Just shimmying myself down away from my candle a little bit. Oh, there we go. So as you keep this rhythm going, start to tune into the structures that are moving these arms. So you could think that it was coming from the muscles of the arms. Instead of that, what would it be like to focus on the shoulder blades? And imagine that the shoulder blades are the guiding force to the arms. And as those shoulder blades rotate around your ribs and around your back, they move your arms into these circles. And as that happens, you're maybe going to feel a change in the alignment through the front of your body. So a sense of spaciousness in the chest, maybe more ease in the head and in the neck, and a sense of softening in these floating arms. They're energetically just very light and airy as they flow back and round in these circles. Pause then when the arms are above your shoulders, and this time, rather than using the shoulder blades to move the arms, imagine your collarbones spiraling towards the throat and the head to bring the arms back. Take those arms forwards again as though the collarbones were spiraling forwards. Take the arms down. We go back. We go forwards. Now, as the arms come forwards, what you might start to notice is that there's a sense of the breastbone dropping down, more of a forward curve of the body. And as the arms come back, we get a little bit more of that sense of an extension, as though you were trying to reach your body nice and long in that early morning stretch. It's going to be relevant for some of the things that we build on in these classes together. For now, just notice that that's the case. Reaching back one last time, keep the arms there. Take the right wrist in the left arm and just gently pull yourself over towards the left-hand side. Breathe into the side of your body. So I've just stretched the side seam of my spine, little banana movement. And then we're going to bring ourselves back into the center. Take the opposite wrist in the opposite hand. Pull yourself over to the side. And back into the middle. Arms come back down by the side. Keep your left leg where it is. Bend into the right knee. Sole of your right foot planted onto your mat. Start to allow your right leg to move out to the side to the degree that this left hip can stay connected to the floor. And then I want you to let that knee come back in toward the center of your body, almost as though it's going to cross over the thigh, as though that back hip is going to lift off the floor. Try to keep it connected to the floor, but there's that idea, that intention of as much reach with this bending leg as you can find to move your leg bone into the socket in a way that's really going to explore all of the space that you've got back there. The rest of the body staying really lovely and soft. And this leg that's moving is really just moving from the natural weight of gravity, taking it outwards. And then your exhale and the weight of the pelvis is going to carry that leg back across your middle. Take one more. And this time, take your left hand, pop it onto the outside of your thigh. Take your right hand and reach it back into a T shape behind you. And just gently pull that right knee across your body to whatever degree feels comfortable. So your leg may touch the floor. It may hover away from the floor. Don't worry about that at all. As you draw that leg across, turn your head and your neck towards your outstretched right hand. And breathe into the twist in your spine. Exhale, slowly coming back into the center. Let that right knee fall out to the side one more time. And this time slide it down along your mat to lengthen out your leg. Bend your left knee, bring that left foot underneath the kneecap. And we're going to take those open knee fallouts to that side again. Leg opens to the side, we draw the thigh back in, and it crosses over the center line, that back hip, trying if it can stay down. We're aiming to stay very heavy in the back of this left hip. So you're trying to feel the bone head of your thigh moving in and out, side to side in the socket. Just allowing the beginnings of some space through the hip. And if even this range just feels quite challenging for your body to find, then it's absolutely something that you can work up to. The more that you practice, this is one of those exercises where the easier it will become. We're going to bring that leg out to the side and now across the body one more time. Take your right hand, pop it onto the thigh on the left and slowly pull your leg over to the side. You should feel this nice little rotational stretch coming through the ribs. Your eye gaze is turned towards your left hand. You're just breathing in here. And exhaling and getting a little heavier. And breathing in. And exhaling. Return yourself back into the center. Let that leg open out to the side. Slide the leg all the way down to the mat. Again, just give your legs those little flutters out to the sides, in and out. And then bring your feet back into the bend, but at the distance of width of your mat.
want you to just keep the arms at this nice high T-shape, palms facing up, shoulders dropping heavily into the floor. And start to allow those knees both to move over to the right. As you exhale, draw the top ribs, so these left ribs, backwards towards your mat first. Use your belly breath to draw the navel down to the floor. Bring your spine back into the center and move over to the other side. Inhaling there, feeling the stretch of your kneecap away from the grounded shoulder. Exhale, drawing back into the middle, over to the other side. Moving side to side just in this easy way. Notice if the ribs are anticipating by lifting off the floor significantly. And really use your exhale to try to draw them back before the hips return. So it's really easy to do this with your hips and with your legs. And instead of that, we're trying to find a sense of the muscles of your belly pulling you back to the floor from the top all the way down to the bottom of the chain. I want you to keep just allowing the breath to guide your travel. Noticing if the range is the same from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, and just smiling at any little gurgles that you might be hearing. So rotation is a really amazing thing to improve the processing of your digestion. So I've just heard my belly give a little kind of noise, which is just telling me that this is starting to work its magic. Pause with your legs over to one side. And now reach this back arm, so the right arm, off the floor by a couple of centimeters. We're going to take it on a journey up and over the top end of your mat. And as it moves, I want you to rotate your torso so the hand comes on top of hands. Allow that arm to float back up and off the floor, off the palm, and start to circle windmill around your head again. If it's comfortable, allow your eye gaze to follow your arm, just moving fluidly, getting as much stretch through the front of your chest as you can without going into any strain in your shoulder. So if this is feeling tricky to have the arm outstretched, then what you can do is instead you can bring your hand onto your shoulder and you can just gently open up side to side. Pause when you're next extended with the arms. Take your exhale to draw the ribs back into the center of your body, and then let that trigger the return of the legs over to the other side. And we're going to go back the way that we came. So that back arm, the left arm now is floating off the floor. We're taking a gentle circuit above the head until the top palm lands on the bottom palm. We're going to come back the way that we came. Staying heavy through that bottom leg. Allowing the skull to roll on the surface of your mat in a way that's comfortable. Just taking 2 or 3 more in your own time. And this next time that you've rolled over, bring the legs to face towards me, to face towards the screen, and come fully onto your side. I'm going to inch myself back a little bit. So I'd like you to have your knees bent. Either a pillow underneath your head or your head supported on the crook of your arm. And just check, you can use your hand or you can have a little look internally. Do my feet, my hips and my shoulders line up with one another? If that's the case, just take your top hand, pop it down in front of your rib cage. And that forearm is there to make sure that these ribs aren't slumping too far down towards the floor, nor is the waist sinking here. So you want to feel like you're pressing a little bit into this top hand. You're taking an exhale to lift a little fragment with the waist away from the floor and to feel the belly muscles drawing in and up. Press down into that bottom leg until you feel like there's the opportunity to float your top leg just a couple of centimeters away from the bottom. From there, we're going to straighten out that leg, spiral the kneecap down towards the floor. So we've got a little bit of an internal spin of that thigh. Hips still staying stacked on top of each other. So it's really tempting when this leg sort of internally rotates to move this top hip forwards. And instead, I want you to be still stacked with your pelvis. We're going to lift the leg and we're going to lower it. And as you keep this movement going, soften your head and your neck into your hands. Keep finding that lift of the inside waist the rooting down of your bottom leg, and the floppiness of your foot. So this wants to be working into the outside edge of your top leg. It's one of those exercises that, depending on your strength and your range, could feel very easy or it could feel tiring quite quickly. If it's feeling very easy, then make it slower. Allow your leg to float a little higher, but have a sensation of still trying to lengthen your waist away from your shoulder. So we're not shortening into the seam of your waist, we're still elongating. If it's feeling very, very tiring, feel free to bring your leg down and give a little pat on the outside at any time. The more that you press this bottom leg into the floor, the more stable you'll be. So that'll prevent your top hip from moving forwards and backwards. We're going to go for one more, and then we're going to come down, give that a little bit of a stroke. We're taking an interlude. We're going to come back. So as and when you're ready, press down into your bottom leg to allow your top knee to float upwards. Slowly extend your leg, finding that little internal spiral. And we're going to go for some circles. As you circle, imagine that you have a piece of string attached to your heel bone that then tethers to the pelvis. And so that piece of string on the heel is just guiding the hip round and round in these sort of dinner plate sized circles. Now what you're going to feel in your body immediately is a desire for those ribs and the spine to move all over the place. So again, this is where the bottom leg becomes really helpful to just keep you on course. We're going to take another 2 and 1. And then we're going to lower down that leg. Give the side of your hip a little stroke. Roll onto your belly. This is where we're going to come as an intermission. So you're lying on your front. The palms of your hands are going to come underneath your forehead. Take a moment here to let the weight of your full body descend to the floor first before doing anything else. And start to notice which bits of you are in contact with the mat and which bits aren't. So hopefully feeling the ribs, maybe feeling the pubic bone, maybe all you're feeling is the belly. Again, don't worry too much about what you find, but do notice it. And then start to allow your pubic bone, just like with your 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock on your back, to move a little touch forwards and backwards, as though you were trying to point your tailbone up to the ceiling and then lengthen it down towards the floor. And as this happens, you'll feel your ribs and your belly connecting a little more deeply into the system. You'll feel the mound of your pubic bone pressing down and then lifting up nice and light. And we're just going to take a couple more until we feel like we're really able to drop that pubic bone down into the floor to act as your anchor as you now move into a little bit of extension. So, forearms on the floor still. Press down into the forearms and pull them in towards your body. And as you do, with a connected pubic bone, see if you could allow your head and your neck and your chest to float upwards. And then slowly bring yourself all the way back down. Inhaling here. Exhale, push and pull through the hands. So it's a combination of pressing down and pulling inwards. And as you pull inwards, the shoulder blades will draw down the back and the heart will lift away from the floor. And coming on down. What you want to be really aware of is the shape of your spine as you lift. So ideally, it's going to be head and then neck, and then upper shoulders, and then just the very top portion of your chest. So your bottom ribs should still be on the floor here. No change happening in the pubic bone. Take a pause at the top and take a breath in. And as you exhale, make your way slowly back down. One more time, inhale. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. Now this time, if you want to go a little bit deeper, bring your fingertips either side of your bust line, elbows pointing up to the ceiling, forehead just resting towards the floor. As you exhale, start to glide your shoulder blades down your back. And as you glide them down your back, feel the arm bones picking up and away from the floor slightly. Think about pulling your elbows towards your waist. And see if you could find this little lift of the heart without the use of your forearms on the floor. Root your pubic bone down into the floor when you get to the top. Inhale. Exhale, make your way back down to the floor. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, start to find your lift. Shoulder blades begin the motion. Palms are pulling the mat towards you to feel as though the front of your chest is opening. Slowly making your way back down. Inhale. Exhale, we root down. We draw the shoulder blades down the back. We pull. Now check in on your tailbone at this point and just make sure that it's not pushing up. It's still reaching down the backs of your legs. Slowly make your way back down to the floor. We're going to do one more together. Inhale. Exhale, coming all the way up into our little lift. As you come down now, press into the palms of your hands and bring yourself back into that child's pose that probably a few of you are really familiar with. If child's pose is not feeling comfortable for your body, just bring yourself into what looks like a 4-point kneeling. So we've got arms extended on the floor, shins dropping down into the mat. We've got a little bit of a rounding into the spine. If child's pose is a place that you're comfortable, just stay there and allow the body to rock slightly from side to tease open the space in your system. We're going to bring you all the way up into 4-point kneeling. I'm going to inch myself back into the middle of my mats. And in your 4-point kneeling, just arrange yourself in a way that's going to be really supportive. So hands are going to be in front of the shoulders rather than directly underneath them. Palms splayed. And your elbow creases are going to face in towards each other. My bottom is a little back behind my knees, just so that the weight of my body is supported by my lower limbs. And here I'm going to start to take that cat-cow. So I'm going to press the arms into the floor, press the shins into the floor and round the spine. Inhaling very deep and wide. As I exhale, shoulder blades drawing down the back, tailbone lengthening away from my spine, heart lifting up. Exhale, we push down into the hands. We feel this descending of the tailbone, the length in the back of the neck as the heavy head drops forwards. Extending as we inhale. Take 2 more. Really feel the fabric of your fingers connecting to your mat. And this movement in your shoulder blades, as we push the floor away, the shoulder blades are really spreading away from the spine. As we inhale, we draw the shoulder blades down the back. We feel them connecting to the body. Pause in the center, somewhere between the two. And start to take a little bit of a wag of your tail to one side and then the other. So I'm turning my head to peer at my opposite hip. Remaining comfortable, still pushing the floor away with my shins and with my arms to stay stable. But feeling the seam of my waist opening and shortening respectively. From here, if it feels comfortable, go into something slightly more fluid. So start to take yourself back behind your legs and forwards over your arms. And if this is causing any discomfort at all, just come back to your original versions. You can move as far to the sides, as far back as you fancy. You do not have to stay in circles. You can move into a little bit of a free-flowing figure of 8. Whatever works. You may hear some clicks and clunks in my body. If you're getting them in yours, then just embrace them. And slowly come back into your child's rest. We're going to come to look at your legs on the other side. So I'm just going to turn to my side, come and lie down. Bring my arm underneath my head again. And again, just bending into the knees. Checking that my feet and my hips are stacked. My shoulders are comfortably one on top of the other. This top hand is acting like a cradle of support for my ribs. Get really comfy first. There's no point in being in this pose for, 5 or so minutes and not feeling like you found a good setup. Take an exhale and again send your bottom leg into the floor to feel the lift in the waist and the stability through the pelvis until that top leg can hover just above the bottom. We lengthen out the leg, we spiral the thigh bone down without losing the integrity of hip alignment. We take a little lift, we take a little lower. I know that on this side of my body, this muscle is significantly more worked because it's my favorite leg to stand on. I have a terrible hip hop. So I'm trying to just allow for that and to notice that I'm probably going to get a bit more fatigued on this side more quickly. As you move, just keep allowing the toes to be soft, the shoulders to be relaxed, the whole system to just feel nice and calm. We're going to go for another 5 and 4, 3 and 2 and 1. And then we're going to pause, give yourself that familiar stroke just to soften into the hip a little bit. And then we're going to go for your circles. So connect your top palm down, feel the ribs softening into that arm. Find your lift in the inside waist. Root down into your bottom leg, extend that top leg. Find your internal swivel. We're going to go for your circles. Let's go for 10. Be ambitious. We go round and down. Anyone that was incredibly relaxed at earlier points in this class is probably now going to be feeling a little bit of a contrast in the working coming into the legs, but I promise it's good for you. If you notice, particularly on this side, that you're struggling to maintain your balance, just keep working into that bottom leg, rooting it into the floor, finding that sense of stability. We're going to go for another 3. I think we're going to get to 10 with that, and 2. And 1. Lower that leg down. Give yourself a little stroke. Press into the top palm now. Just bring yourself up into your Z-sit position if that feels achievable. If Z-sit, if this posture is just sort of not something that your body can work with, you're just going to take a good couple of cushions underneath your sit bones. And therefore, as you lift the hips, there's going to be much less of a degree of angle between these legs. Plant your front hand, so the hand that's closest to your front leg, down onto the floor. And as you connect that palm into the floor, just take a little bit of a side bend with this outside arm. The floor hand and the floor arm are going to bend slightly to bring you over to the side. And you're going to just press yourself all the way back up into the start position. This back hip wants to be relatively close to the floor. So if it's feeling very lifted, just spend a little moment sort of shuffling slightly into the sits bones to see if you can allow it to drop a little touch more. With it at its heaviest degree, we're going to take that side stretch. And therefore there's a feeling of pressing this floor hand down into the floor as though you're pushing the mat that way. As you push the mat that way, the ribs and the pelvis are going to drop down in the opposite direction. And then you're giving yourself an anchor from which to stretch your arm. Breathe in very deeply here. Exhale, come all the way back. We're going to do that twice more. Inhale, we float the arm up. We feel the side of the body opening. Exhale, we come back. Pop that outside hand down to the floor. Take a little counter stretch. Usually feels much more intense. If you notice your head and your neck moving significantly forward of your shoulders, just allow them to drop back a little bit. Release that arm. Pop your hands back behind yourself and bring your legs into the opposite position. So we've got front knee in a little bit of a right angle bend and back leg just drawing backwards towards the sitting bone on that side. Plant your palm. See if that sit bone is as evenly heavy on the side as it was on the other. Take your top arm up towards the ceiling. Bend. We're coming back out of it again. Pausing here. And then seeing if you can work your way all the way over to the side again. Just go really gently with your body. If this is feeling tricky in any way, this is supposed to be a really delicious flow through movement rather than anything that's causing any strain. And this time let your back hand drop down to the floor. Stretch that top arm up and over. Take a big breath in. Slowly bring that outside arm all the way down. All right. We're going to cross your legs, roll over onto all fours. And we're going to bring you up into some standing final little flourishes. So if getting up in this way that I'm about to show you doesn't feel like it works for your body, feel free to just come onto your side and genuinely just bring yourself up however you would feel comfortable to. If it's a side sit, if it's using a little chair, whatever it is. Otherwise, guys, you're curling your toes and you're pressing your palms into the floor and you're coming into what looks like a subtle crouch. Back of the head dropping towards the floor, inhaling. As you exhale, press the floor away with your feet. Let the backs of the legs be nice and comfortable. The head and the neck and the chest descend. Breathe in. And as you exhale, slowly send the floor away to rebuild the spine. Inch by gorgeous inch, we come all the way up. Once you get there, inhale. Exhale, take yourself down exactly the same way that you came, so the back of the neck extending, the chest nice and soft, the belly wall drawing in. Every bit of your body just rolling over the next, piece by piece. Inhale. Exhale, floor pushed away. Spine begins to elongate. This time take your arms on a journey out to the side, up to the ceiling. As you inhale here, feel the ribs lifting up and away from your pelvis. Arms come back down by the side. We're taking one more. Let it be luscious, everyone. Really embrace the shape and the sensations within your body. Breathe in. Breathe out. Up we come. Arms circle. Palms connect. Take your left hand over the wrist of your right hand and pull up and over to the side. Restack your spine. Switch the hands. Little gentle side bend. Come back into the middle, arms come down by the side. Take a moment there. If you can bear it, soften your eyes closed. And now that you're in standing, just feel how it is to be here. What do you notice? What does your system tell you? How does it feel to have the weight of your body supported by your feet and by your legs? Can you invite any more softening through the ribs, through the pelvis, to give you a sense of fluidity as you stand? One last smile and thank you to yourself. Exhale, open your eyes. You guys are done.